Yo, what's up? I'm Alec. This is 9.1 of Shadowlands. This will be my Mistweaver guide, and it will be in general for PvP and PvE. I like to do all content. It's pretty much the same for a healer, I feel like. You just heal people, make sure they don't die. So I'm going to start with the basics here. My stat priority for Mistweaver is Verse, Mastery, Haste, Crit. And I do this because I do not like the Fistweaver build. Playing the Fistweaver build to me does not have near as much healing output as this build. This way I can keep people alive through insane amounts of damage coming in at them. Now, my race is Undead. I like Undead for Mythic Plus, especially because I can eat corpses every 2 minutes for 40% mana back. And I can do this while in combat as long as I don't take any damage. So I usually like to do it when the tank's on like the last trash mob. So I'll start eating and get my mana back almost to full before he's even ready to pull the next pack. And that's how I don't in Mythic Plus. I like the racial for rated battlegrounds as well. Will of the Forsaken. Super strong. Now that we have the stun reduction PvP talent, or not stun reduction, the damage reduction while stunned, I should say, as a PvP talent, I think it's a little better now. Orc was really strong there because of the stun reduction they have. But now that I have other ways to combat stuns, I'm really enjoying Undead even more. So, Covenants. I am Venthyr. A lot of monks are Kyrian or Necrolord. I've honestly never seen a Night Fae monk, so I don't think they're good at all, probably. I tend to play this, General Draven, for PvE, and rated battlegrounds lately, because you get that damage reduction when you fall below 40% health, which is really nice, especially if you can stack it with that PvP talent I was just talking about. And now that we've gotten our tree completed, I get an even further damage reduction with this battlefield presence, which is really nice. I do take the right path here because I don't really care to get a third potency conduit slot. The only one I really care about is this one for potency. The Gust of Mist has a 30% chance to do 80% more healing. I believe that is the best conduit you can get for Mistweaver. And the Covenant one is really nice as well. Fallen Order. Deal 58% more damage and healing. I like this right path because of Built for War. You get 5% increased intellect as long as you don't fall below 50% health. It's a lot of primary stat. I think it's better than having the third potency slot. I just got hit by a mechanic from that guy way down there, dude. Okay. I will use the First Lady in arenas. I think that this extra crowd control is super strong. The interrupt reduction is super strong, especially with the new stun PvP talents you get. Get all these ways to combat stuns. But this is my overall build that I use for it. Jade Bond is my third potency conduit if I was to take a third one. This, I don't know why I have that there, that is ridiculous. It should be this one. When paralysis ends, your target's movement speed is reduced by 60%. That's what should be there. I don't know why it's the other way. But that would snare your targets after paralysis, so you can actually get a healer stuck behind a pillar even longer, or behind your Ring of Peace. You can combat Ring of Peace and paralysis together, because then they'll be snared trying to run around the Ring of Peace. Super nice. Alright, so the rotation and talents. This is my overall talents. This is a must. Mist Wrap. No better talent in this row. Enveloping Mist is your strongest heal, and making it even stronger is just better. Second row, you would take Torpedo overall. I would use Tiger's Lust in very niche situations where there's a lot of roots, or maybe against a DK. But I usually run Chi Torpedo for pretty much everything. I enjoy life cycles for overall, like long-term fighting. I feel like I save more mana using life cycles. However, I think Mana Tea can be just as good if you're really good at using it at the right times. If you can use this before you pop a lot of cooldowns, you can spend pretty much no mana. But overall, I like to just keep life cycles, especially since I enjoy rated battlegrounds much more than arena. Ring of Peace is pretty much the go-to for everything. I have seen Song of Chi-Ji in 2s before, but honestly, anytime I've ever seen a monk use this in 2s, I still beat them using Ring of Peace as my talent. Maybe I'm just better than them, I don't know. Or more geared, maybe. All three talents in this row are pretty good. I personally tend to lean towards Healing Elixir and Diffuse Magic more than Dampen Harm. I think Dampen Harm's a little more useful as another spec. But Healing Elixir is really good for self-healing, just running around because you can move while using it. I've actually been able to use it while silenced because I don't think it counts as a spell. It does count as nature. I don't know how that works exactly, but I have been able to use it while silenced. Diffuse Magic is really good against dot cleaves, Affliction Warlocks. I've actually seen Mistweavers kill Affliction Warlocks 1v1 using Diffuse Magic by reflecting all their dots back at them and bursting them with their kicks and whatnot. Statue. Now, these last two talents are the only ones I ever really changed the most. So for general, I use this for dungeons, rated battlegrounds, and Mythic Plus, this build. The statue with single target healing, super strong in PvP and against tanks and dungeons. Focus Thunder, I really enjoy. You save a lot of mana with Vivify, and you can increase your burst healing on a single target if you use it with Enveloping Mist, because it'll give them a big initial heal and the massive hots afterwards. I tend to use this, but for raids, I will drop Focus Thunder for Upwelling. Anything like larger than 15 people, I take Upwelling. And I continue to use Statue unless we are going to be stacked up. If we're going to be stacked up in the raid for the majority of the fight and we need that extra AoE healing, then I will drop Statue for Refreshing Jadewind. But overall in the raid, most boss fights you're not stacked up, so I just take Upwelling and Statue and try to lean towards keeping the tanks alive, because there are better AoE healers. I have the single target lockdown on the tanks, and then I let the druids and shamans worry about everybody else mostly, and I'll pad with Upwelling. But I can top charts with it in raid just by running Statue and Upwelling. Now, for your abilities, Renewing Mist. is your most important aspect to playing Mistweaver. You have to have this out on as many targets as possible, and I can't stress that enough. It procs your mastery, and everything. Every time you use Vivify, it's going to heal all those targets. It is the most important thing to keep that out. It bounces from target to target depending on their health, so sometimes I will drop it on a full health target just to have more Renewing Mist out there bouncing around. Because there has been times where I'll actually put it on a low health target for an instant cast, and my other Renewing Mist will transfer to that target right as I apply this Renewing Mist, and then I'll have less Renewing Mist out because of it. So just be aware of that. Thunder Focus Tea, underrated ability. I see a lot of Mistweavers not using this, and it's really strong. You save mana, increase your healing output, and if you're not good at using this, I recommend just macroing it with Enveloping Mist and Vivify, which I'll go over macros later in another video on how to make them, how to create your own macros, and kind of how they work so that you can start making your own macros instead of just copying other people's macros, because everybody plays differently, everybody has different keybinds, they play different, so being able to create your own is honestly the best way to go. Now, Yulon, I see a lot of people not using Yulon correctly. The best way to use this is when you know big single target damage is going to be coming in at somebody. This works for PvE and PvP alike. People in rated battlegrounds, they get tunneled down by the entire team, or they're carrying the flag, you know they're going to be a focus target, or an orb. You can get increased single target healing on them, and it will spread a little bit of extra healing to people around them, because it casts Soothing Mist on my target and 2 additional targets. So that's kind of your go-to burst single target healing outside of life cocooning them to save their life. But I don't want to use life cocoon if possible, so I will pop this right when I know big damage is coming in, and I'll pump so much healing into that guy and he won't die. Especially if you're using Thunder Focus Tea like I was just talking about. I try to alternate Yulon and Fallen Order, my Covenant ability. I know Necrolord is really good, and so's Kyrian for Mistweaver, so I'm not exactly sure how their Covenant abilities work, but I would try to alternate them. It is another cooldown. But this Fallen Order spawns additional monks. There will be Crane Adepts, Ox Adepts, and Tiger Adepts, so you'll get tank ones, DPS ones, and healing ones that spawn out of that portal. I believe it leans towards the healer ones, or whatever spec you are, so I do get a lot. They do cast Soothing Mist and Enveloping Mist, and they will cast while you're CC'd. Very crucial on that, because you can pop that right before you get into a full blind, and they'll keep your other guy alive just on their own. It's pretty good. The Shackle Trinket for this patch is super strong, especially for my class having a lack of damage. The only real damage I use in PvP, in rated battlegrounds especially, is mostly just spinning Crane Kick and Touch of Death. The spinning Crane Kick to spin flags. I try to focus more on the healing aspect than doing damage, because we already have priests out there trying to do damage, and resto shamans out there trying to do damage, and especially paladins out there trying to do damage, because they have to Crusader Strike to even get more holy charges, but that's not about them. But we have a lack of damage, so the Shackle Trinket's super strong. You can shackle somebody when they're getting close to death, and then follow up with the touch of death, and they will. Yeah, I've actually secured a lot of kills that way. The PvP talents. Let's go over PvP talents. Chrysalis. I use this all the time. Having 30 seconds reduced on your life cocoon is so good. Minute and a half cooldown with that talent. It's your biggest defensive ability, and having that active as much as possible, or ready to go as much as possible, is ideal. I pretty much run dematerialize now all the time. Almost everybody has a stun, and my biggest weakness is stuns. This talent is the one that I tend to change the most throughout PvP. Now in RBGs, this is the talent choice I run every game. Mistweaver is a new talent, reducing your revival cooldown by 50%, making it a minute and a half cooldown instead of 3 minutes, and it makes you immune to dot protection effects. So when you dispel Unstable Affliction, you're not going to get silenced, you're not going to take that damage. If you dispel Vampiric Touch from a Shadow Priest, you're not going to get feared. Even if you're dispelling that off everybody, it doesn't. So this is the go-to RBG talent. I will run this in arena against Shadow Priest, Aflock, of course, if they are both there. If it's just one or the other, then I'll tend to lean towards something else. I like to run this Eminence instead in arenas, so that I can Transcendence while stunned. And if I'm not stunned when I use it, the cooldown's reduced, so I can use it more often to dodge CCs and incoming damage. I may take Zen Focus Tea if they have hard interrupts, lots of interrupts. Grapple weapons, good talent. If they're all melee or a hunter, get rid of the weapon, they got no damage anymore. Those are the main ones I use. I don't really use any others anymore. Counteract Magic has been completely changed. Refreshing Breeze has been completely changed. They don't do the same thing. I haven't really used them lately to see how good they are. I think these other talents are just that much stronger. I know if you're playing against an Aflock and maybe a different DPS that's not a Shadow Priest, you can run Healing Sphere, and you can actually run through these orbs to remove his dots off you without suffering that penalty from the dot protection. Super good. Not a lot of people use it though. They think it's a weird talent, and I get it. It is a little awkward, especially if you have to position yourself to run into it. But it is a solid option against them to combat those dots that you can't just dispel without taking penalties. Later on I will go over those macros like I was talking about, but I do run a ton of macros for all my classes. I play every class in the game. I have them all at max level. I have hundreds of macros, and I'll be going over a lot of that in another video. But I just wanted to give you an in general guide. As a healer, don't run Relentless, please, unless you're like a human, maybe, on the Alliance side, but I don't play Alliance. And even as Undead, I still run this trinket. Gotta run this trinket, because Relentless is good and all, but not for a healer that's trying to save the life of somebody at a clutch moment where they're about to die. Like that flag carrier, when your flag carrier is about to die and they put you in a full polymorph or a full cyclone and he dies and you can't get out because you're running Relentless. That's why I run Medallion right there. Even though you'll sit more CCs throughout the BG, you will save the life of that person that you're trying to heal with the actual trinket. Versatility, just keep stacking verse even when you get past 30. You want as much verse as possible. It's your best stat. I mean, so I do want to go over the lack of defensive cooldowns that Mistweavers have. A lot of people complain about that. I do have the Fortifying Brew Conduit where you get the bubble afterwards now, which is really nice. It's another decent defensive that you can use before, like when you're already low health now, because usually Fortifying Brew you would want to use before you take all the damage. Let's see. Before I go, I want to... Mistweavers are really strong. They're really strong. They do have that lack of defensive cooldowns, and the reason is because they are fast. They are very slippery healers. You can roll out of pretty much everything. Door of Shadows, Transcendence, for me, I don't know, like other classes you get your other Covenant abilities, but me, I get that extra Door of Shadows to get away or use as a CC if I'm using the other talent or the other Covenant tree here. What I would do is I would Door of Shadows in, disorient the person into a leg sweep, and then follow up with a paralysis or Ring of Peace depending on where they're standing. If they're standing by a pillar, I can maybe knock them behind the pillar and then put them in the paralysis so that when they come out of the paralysis they're snared behind the pillar. But your goal is to line up the longest CC chain on them, and while they're in that CC chain I would try to come in and shackle to help my DPS kill the target during that CC, and because it will absorb healing when they come out of that CC, so you still have a chance of getting the kill if they get out of the CC early. But that's my in general guide that I have going right now. I hope this helps you guys get through content. The Expel Harm, if you use that while channeling Soothing Mist on another guy, it will heal you and the other guy, so be aware of that. So if only two of you are taking damage, you can use that to heal yourself and the other person. And it actually heals for a lot if you're running the conduit. I've actually hit people for probably 35-40% of the health on some of them. 40% increase healing on that with the conduit. But yeah, I hope this helps you guys, and good luck out there, and I'll make this macro video as soon as possible. Thank you.